Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one.
Some museums keep things nobody should touch. I'm not talking about old paintings or Greek vases. I'm talking about a severed human hand, a body that turned into soap, poison that still kills after a century, objects that brought death to every owner who had them, things locked in the basement away from the public because displaying them would be dangerous, macabre, or simply impossible to explain. 70 pieces scattered across museums around the world. Some of these will keep you up for days. Number 1. At the Whitby Museum in England, there's a mummified human hand kept under glass. They call it the Hand of Glory. In the Middle Ages, thieves made these hands from the limbs of hanged criminals. The legend said that by lighting the fingers like candles, everyone in the house would stay asleep while you robbed everything. This one was found in 1935, hidden inside the wall of a cottage in Yorkshire. They confirmed it is human. How it was preserved, nobody knows to this day. Number 2. In Key West, the technician Carl Tanzler fell in love with Elena de Hoyos, a 22-year-old patient with tuberculosis. When she died in 1931, he paid for the burial and visited the grave nearly every night. 2 years later, he stole the body in a toy wagon and took it home. He lived with it for 7 years. He stuffed it with cloth, wired the bones together, put in glass eyes and a wig made from her hair. When they discovered it in 1940, he was not even arrested. Number 3. In a peat bog in Denmark in 1950, 2 brothers cutting peat found a body so well preserved they called the police, thinking it was a recent crime. It was the Tolland man, killed more than 2,000 years ago in the Iron Age. He still had a rope tight around his neck. He was hanged, probably as a sacrifice. The chemistry of the bog preserved the entire face, stubble and all. Scientists even discovered what his last meal was. Number 4. Charles Byrne, the Irish giant, stood nearly 7 feet, 7 inches tall and became a spectacle in 18th century London. Dying in 1783, he left a clear request. He did not want to be dissected or displayed, and he wanted to be buried at sea. The surgeon John Hunter bribed people to steal the body. Byrne's skeleton was displayed for 2 centuries at the Hunterian Museum, against his will. Only in 2023 did the museum decide to remove it from public view. Number 5. William Burke and his accomplice Hare killed approximately 16 people in Edinburgh in 1828 and sold the bodies to the Dr. Robert Knox for dissection. Hare turned informant and walked free. Burke was hanged in 1829 and, as punishment, dissected in public. Then came the worst part. They bound a small notebook with his skin, which remains at the Surgeons' Hall to this day. The skeleton still hangs in the Anatomy Museum of the University of Edinburgh, nearly 2 centuries later. Number 6. In Japan, some Buddhist monks sought to become Buddha in life through an extreme path. They spent years eating only roots and bark, drank water from a spring laced with arsenic to dry the body from within, and then buried themselves alive in a chamber, breathing through a bamboo tube and ringing a bell every day. When the bell stopped, they were dead. Years later, they were unearthed. If the body had not rotted, they became Buddha. Number 7. In 2011, Russian police entered the apartment of the historian Anatoly Moskvin in Nizhny Novgorod and found 29 life-size dolls throughout the house. They were not dolls, they were the bodies of girls and young women he had dug up from cemeteries, mummified and dressed. Inside the chest of several, he hid music boxes that played when someone touched them. Moskvin gave them names and even threw birthday parties for them. He was committed to a psychiatric hospital. Number 8. In the fall of 2001, someone mailed letters containing a brown powder to newsrooms and senators in the United States. The powder was anthrax. The first to die was the photo editor Robert Stevens, who inhaled the powder without knowing what it was. In the end, 5 people died and another 17 fell ill. After being decontaminated, some of the letters ended up at the Smithsonian National Postal Museum. They were kept locked away from the public for years. Number 9. John Wayne Gacy killed 33 young men and, in his spare time, dressed up as a clown at children's parties under the name Pogo. In prison, he started painting and made self-portraits of himself as Pogo. It is not just the story behind it that is frightening. They say the canvas carries bad luck. A musician who bought the painting in 2001 says that shortly after, his dog died and his mother was diagnosed with cancer. He passed it to a friend, and the misfortune seemed to follow the painting. Number 10. The Smithsonian keeps watches, airplane dials, and old instruments coated in radium paint. At the beginning of the 20th century, radium glowed in the dark and seemed like a miracle. The factory workers who painted the dials, the radium girls, licked the brush to sharpen the tip. Many fell ill and died of radiation poisoning. Those objects remain radioactive to this day. Number 11. Forget the porcelain doll from the movies. The real Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann, one of those cloth dolls from a fair, and that is precisely what makes it worse. The investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren kept her behind glass with a sign, "Positively do not open." They said priests had to bless the room. The most repeated story is about a man who kept tapping on the glass and mocking the doll. That very night, he died in a motorcycle accident. Number 12. At Fort East Martello in Key West sits the doll Robert, made in Germany around 1904. He belonged to a boy named Gene Otto, who talked to the doll for hours. The parents swore they heard two voices in the room, and the neighbors said they saw Robert moving from one window to another. When they found furniture overturned, the boy always said the same thing: Robert did it. Number 13. In 2003, a man bought for $20 at a flea market a beat-up doll named Harold. Before letting it go, the old man selling it insisted on telling the story. Harold had been a gift for his son, who died shortly after. Since then, he heard singing and laughter in the empty room. He tried to burn the doll, but it would not catch fire. The buyer took it anyway. Soon came migraines, the cat died, and the voices returned. Number 14. The Armenian-American painter Arshil Gorky had a life of tragedy: a studio fire, cancer, betrayal, a car accident that broke his neck, and his suicide in 1948. They say his works are cursed. They fall off walls, catch fire, and people swear they see near them a ghost with black hair and a blue overcoat. In 1962, a plane crashed 2 minutes after takeoff, killing all 95 on board. It was carrying 15 Gorky paintings, all destroyed. Number 15. The Polish artist Zdzisław Beksinski painted nightmarish scenes, landscapes rotting, twisted figures. His own life was dark. His wife died in 1998, and his son killed himself on Christmas Eve of 1999. In 2005, the painter was found dead in his Warsaw apartment with 17 stab wounds. The killer was a 19-year-old, the son of his caretaker, furious over a denied loan. They say his works attract bad energy. Number 16. At the Quesnel Museum in Canada lives the doll Mandy, in a locked display case with a warning: no flash. She arrived in 1991 after the previous owner found her among her grandmother's things and swore she heard a baby crying from the trunk where the doll was stored. At the museum, the reports did not stop. An employee left Mandy overnight in a lab, and by morning the room was trashed. The stuffed lamb appeared outside the locked display case. Number 17. The Codex Gigas is a gigantic medieval manuscript, nearly 3 feet tall and weighing about 165 pounds, bound in leather. The nickname, the Devil's Bible, comes from a full-page illustration of Satan in the middle of the book. Legend says a monk wrote all of it in a single night, after making a pact with the devil to escape execution. Today, it sits at the National Library of Sweden, almost never touched. The inks and treated leather contain toxins. Number 18. In 1918, in Japan, a young man bought a doll for his little sister, Okiku. The girl loved the gift and carried it everywhere. The following year, she fell ill and died, still clutching the doll. The family set up an altar and placed the doll there in her memory. That was when they noticed something. The doll's hair, which had been short and neatly trimmed, seemed to be growing. The family delivered the doll to a temple, where it remains to this day. And the hair, the monks say, keeps growing. Number 19. The Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana dates from 1796 and has a reputation for being haunted. At the center of the stories is a mirror. Legend says an enslaved woman named Chloe poisoned the family that owned the house, and the mother and 2 children died. By the tradition of the time, mirrors were to be covered during mourning to keep from trapping spirits. This one was not. Since then, people say they see a woman and children in the glass and a handprint that always reappears. Number 20. The Hope Diamond is a blue diamond of about 45 carats with a trail of tragedy. It belonged to Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, disappeared during the French Revolution, and resurfaced years later. Almost every owner faced ruin or disaster. The socialite Evelyn McLean, who bought it in 1911, lost her son in an accident, her daughter to an overdose, and her husband ended up in an asylum. The jeweler who donated it to the Smithsonian mailed it through the post. The letter carrier had his leg crushed. Number 21. In 1702, in northern England, Thomas Busby was hanged for killing his father-in-law. Legend says that before climbing the gallows, he cursed his favorite chair at the pub. Whoever sat in it after him would die. Over the years, a string of deaths accumulated. During World War II, Canadian airmen who drank there said those who sat in the chair never came back from their missions. In the 1970s, the owner donated the chair to a museum, which hung it high on the wall. Number 22. In Maryland, the National Museum of Health and Medicine was born in 1862, at the height of the war, when the Surgeon General ordered field doctors to collect specimens of morbid anatomy and send them for study. The result is a collection of amputated limbs, shattered bones, and soldiers' organs. There are 25 million objects, and most of them are not even on display. They live in a storage facility outside the museum. Number 23. The Mutter Museum in Philadelphia is famous for its jars with organs, skeletons, and malformations. What few people consider is that much of what is there is dangerous. In the 1800s and early 1900s, they preserved tissue with whatever was on hand: arsenic, mercury, formaldehyde. Those chemicals do not evaporate, they remain active. During a renovation, they closed sections of the museum because fumes were leaking from old jars. A large part of the collection is not even displayed due to how toxic it has become. Number 24. When construction in 1875, Philadelphia unearthed an old cemetery, they found a body that had turned into a waxy, hard mass resembling soap. It is the soap lady, displayed to this day at the Mutter. It is not real soap. The body fat underwent a rare process called saponification, which halted decomposition and turned her into adipocere. The water that seeped into the coffin did this. 100 years later, you can still see the face, frozen in what looks almost like a scream. Number 25. The Filipino Juan Luna was one of the greatest painters of his country. He was also violent and jealous. In 1892, in Paris, he shot his wife, Paz Pardo de Tavera, and his mother-in-law. Paz died days later. The French courts acquitted him, treating the case as a crime of passion. There is a portrait of Paz painted by him, and they say the canvas is cursed. Owners who went bankrupt, one who fell ill, another who died in an accident shortly after purchasing it. Number 26. In 1991, climbers found a body emerging from the ice in the Alps. It was Otzi, a man killed by an arrow to the back more than 5,000 years ago. Now the best preserved mummy in existence, he is in an archaeology museum in northern Italy. And then, the legend comes in, several people who handled him died in sequence. The doctor who cared for the body crashed his car on the way to a lecture about the find. The climber who discovered him was found frozen years later. Number 27. In the Capuchin catacombs of Palermo, among thousands of mummies, lies Rosalia Lombardo. She died of pneumonia in 1920 at nearly 2 years old. Her devastated father paid an embalmer, Alfredo Salafia, to preserve her. It worked so well that a century later she appears to be sleeping. Smooth skin, eyelashes, a bow in her hair. And there is the detail that haunts visitors. At certain times of day, her eyes seem to slowly open. They say it is a trick of the light. Number 28. Edvard Munch, the same artist behind The Scream, painted in 1899 a far less known and far more disturbing canvas, The Dead Mother. It shows a small child next to the lifeless body of her mother. Munch lost his own mother to tuberculosis when he was 5 years old. The painting carries a weight of grief that many people feel in their bones. It is said that when displayed in a gallery, it left visitors nauseous, with an anguish so intense that some fainted in front of it. Number 29. In 1874, an American doctor put together a book to warn about a domestic danger of the time: wallpaper. The vivid colors of wallpaper came from pigments containing arsenic, like Paris green. The book, Shadows from the Walls of Death, is made of actual samples of that wallpaper. In other words, every page is toxic. Inhaling the dust it released could sicken or kill. They made about 100 copies and destroyed nearly all of them. Number 30. The silent film star Rudolph Valentino bought a tiger's eye ring during a shoot in 1922. From that point on, only bad things came. Divorces, fights, and death at 31 years old in 1926 from a perforated ulcer. But the ring continued. His fiancée wore it and fell ill. It was passed to a singer, killed in an accidental shooting. Then to his best friend, hit by a truck. Finally, a thief stole it and was shot dead with the ring on his finger. Number 31. In the tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered in 1922, there were 2 trumpets, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Legend said that playing them brings war. In 1939, the BBC decided to test it live for the world. Minutes before, the museum lights went out and the broadcast only happened by candlelight. A soldier played both. Months later, World War II began. They were sounded again before the Six-Day War in 1967 and the Gulf War in 1990. Number 32. The Black Orloff is a black diamond with a reputation for carrying death. Legend says it was ripped from the eye of a statue of the god Brahma in a temple in India and cursed by a priest in the act of theft. From that point on, disaster supposedly followed every owner. A diamond dealer from New York jumped off a skyscraper. 2 Russian princesses, who kept the stone, also took their own lives. After that, they had the diamond recut. Number 33. During the Indian Rebellion of 1857, A British colonel took from a temple a purple stone, now in the collection of the Natural History Museum in London. Upon arriving in England, his finances collapsed and his family fell ill. A friend he lent the jewel to took his own life. The scientist Edward Heron Allen, who inherited it, swore it was pure bad luck. He sealed it in 7 boxes with amulets and left a note: "Throw this into the sea." Number 34. The Koh-i-Noor, more than 100 carats, passed from king to king in India, Persia, and Afghanistan, always as spoils of war. With it came a curse from a Hindu text: "He who possesses it rules the world but inherits all its misfortunes. Only a god or a woman can wear it without punishment." So many men who had it ended up dethroned or killed that, in the British court, only queens wore it. It sits in the crown of the Queen Mother at the Tower of London. Number 35. In the lobby of the Imperial War Museum in London stands a German V-2 rocket, about 46 feet tall, brought from Germany in 1946. During the war, these missiles came in silence, faster than sound, without warning. They killed thousands in London and Antwerp and killed even more in the concentration camps that manufactured them. Number 36. At Royal Holloway, at the University of London, there's a hall that serves as an exam room. On one wall hangs an 1864 painting by Edwin Landseer, 2 polar bears devouring the wreckage of a lost Arctic expedition, human bones included. Every exam season, they cover the canvas with a flag. The reason is a legend. They say a student lost his mind in front of it during an exam and left a note saying the polar bear told him to. Number 37. In 2003, a man bought at an estate sale in Oregon a small wine cabinet. They said inside was a dybbuk, a malevolent spirit from Jewish folklore. Inside were 2 coins, locks of hair, a dried rosebud, and a plaque with the word Shalom. As soon as he took it home, the nightmares came and his mother had a stroke. Each subsequent owner reported illness and bad luck. When Post Malone touched the box, his plane soon made an emergency landing. Number 38. The British Museum has a piece nicknamed the Unlucky Mummy. It is not even a mummy. It is the coffin lid of an Egyptian priestess from about 950 BC. For more than 100 years, people have attributed deaths, accidents, and ruin to it. The first owners reported bad luck. London newspapers in the 1890s spread the reputation. The story grew so much that they blamed it for the sinking of the Titanic. There are still visitors who refuse to photograph it. Number 39. In St. Joseph, Missouri, a former psychiatric hospital was turned into a museum to show how mental treatment was once brutal. There is the tranquilizing chair, which strapped the patient down, the surprise bath, which plunged the person into freezing water and sometimes drowned them, a giant treadmill where patients walked for up to 48 straight hours, and there are lobotomy instruments. One display shows 1,446 nails, screws, and buttons removed from the stomach of a single patient. Number 40. The Black Prince's ruby in the British imperial crown is not even a ruby. It is a red spinel. It enters the historical record in 1362, with the last Sultan of Granada killed by treachery at a peace meeting. From there came the so-called curse of the Sultan. The stone passed to the Black Prince, who fell ill and died without ever becoming king. After that, a string of monarchs who held it died young or were executed. Today, it shines in the crown. Number 41. The Regent diamond was found in India in 1698. Legend says a slave cut open his own leg and hid the stone inside the wound to smuggle it out. It did not help. An English captain found out, killed the man, and sold the diamond. It ended up in France, entered the crown jewels, and was worn by Louis XV, Louis XVI, and Marie Antoinette. Stolen during the Revolution and recovered, it ended up set in the hilt of Napoleon's sword, which he carried into exile. Number 42. The Moon of Baroda is a yellow diamond of 24 carats, found in India about 500 years ago. It once belonged to Empress Maria Theresa of Austria, mother of Marie Antoinette, and people blamed the stone for her daughter's fate. In 1953, a Detroit jeweler bought it and had Marilyn Monroe wear it to promote Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. That very year, the actress's personal life and career began to unravel. Number 43. At the Grant Museum of Zoology in London, thousands of specimens float in formaldehyde and alcohol and have for more than a century. The problem is that formaldehyde is carcinogenic and the alcohol, improperly stored, is highly flammable. The most famous piece is a jar with 18 moles squeezed together in nearly pure industrial alcohol. The staff handles the glass with extreme care. If those old seals were to give way, it would release a cloud of toxic vapor into the air. Number 44. The painting, The Rain Woman by the Russian artist Svetlana Telets from 1996 shows a pale, thin woman in a strange hat standing in the rain. The artist herself said that for half a year before painting it, she felt a presence watching her, and that while working, the hand did not feel like her own. The painting went through several owners, and nearly all reported the same thing: insomnia, nightmares, and the sensation of being watched. Some swear they saw the woman walking through the house. Number 45. There's a painting called The Anguished Man, with a sinister legend. They say the artist mixed his own blood into the paint and took his own life shortly after finishing it. The last owner, an Englishman named Sean Robinson, inherited it from his grandmother. As soon as he brought the painting home, he began hearing laughter and crying with no explanation, feeling dread near it, and seeing a shadow prowling at night. Tired of it, he locked the canvas in the attic and never took it out again. Number 46. The New Orleans Pharmacy Museum holds the collection of a 19th century apothecary, and that means shelves full of real poison, arsenic, mercury chloride, and laudanum, the liquid opium that was sold without a prescription. Some bottles still contain the original liquid, sitting there since the 1800s. Certain cabinets are kept sealed because the powders have crystallized, and disturbing them would be dangerous. A curator joked that if a bottle breaks, they evacuate the building. Number 47. There was a town in Canada called literally Asbestos, which changed its name in 2020. Next to the old mine, there is a museum dedicated to the mineral, with samples of raw asbestos, the so-called miracle fiber that was once used in everything. The problem is that the fibers are microscopic and sharp. When you breathe them in, they pierce the lungs and never come out, potentially causing an aggressive cancer. The staff takes extreme care. Disturbing the samples releases fibers into the air. Number 48. A couple of investigators carries a museum of paranormal objects on the road. There is the idol Billy, found under a house, linked to violent nightmares, and a black mirror that provokes visions. But the most feared piece is the Witch of the Catskills, a wooden statue with eyes pierced by nails and a noose knot carved into the neck found in a cave. Whoever took it home reported banging in shadows. It is the only object they keep locked away. Number 49. At the Gettysburg battlefield, people pick up a pebble as a souvenir, thinking there is no harm in it. But the park receives, every few months, packages with those stones sent back, along with letters. In one, a man who took 3 stones with his wife said he lost his wife, his son, and his job and ended up in jail. Another returned a stone and a twig taken in 2006. Since then, nothing but workplace accidents, surgeries, and broken relationships. Number 50. The Preston Manor in Brighton is known as one of the most haunted houses in England. In 2015, it received an old ledger from 1915. The donor was a woman whose father had found the book in 1988, walled inside a closed jewelry store during a demolition. According to her, after bringing the book home, she began seeing shadows, and a spirit supposedly said the book needed to return to Brighton exactly 100 years after it was written. Number 51. In a bridal shop in Chihuahua, Mexico, there is a mannequin called La Pascualita that looks too human to be a mannequin. Legend says it was made in the image of the shop owner's daughter, who supposedly died on the day of her own wedding, bitten by a venomous insect. From there, the rumor that never dies was born, that it is not a mannequin but the embalmed body of the young woman. Some swear they have seen it move. The hands, they say, are far too realistic. Number 52. In 2014, Alabama police came upon a strange scene in the Bear Creek swamp. 21 dolls, mostly old porcelain, impaled on bamboo stakes, standing upright in the middle of the water. The land belonged to a lumber company, which never responded to inquiries. They tried to find out who placed the dolls there and got nowhere. The swamp already had a bad reputation, with reports of voices and shadows, and a legend of a mother searching for her lost daughter. Number 53. In the Victorian era, child death was far too common, and some families invented a dark way of coping with the loss. They commissioned mourning dolls. They were made of wax or porcelain dressed in black, and worst of all, sculpted to have the exact face of the child who had just died. Then they placed the doll where the child used to play. The idea was to keep something of the dead nearby. The result today is chilling. Number 54. At the Hotel Galvez in Galveston, Texas, there is a portrait of the Spanish military leader Bernardo de Galvez. Guests swear the eyes of the painting follow them across the room, and that orbs appear floating around it. The most curious legend is about photographs. They say that if you try to photograph the painting without first asking Galvez for permission, the image comes out blurred only on that wall. Few have the courage to approach after dark. Number 55. At the Hotel Driscoll in Austin, Texas, there is a painting called Love Letters by Richard King, showing a girl holding flowers and a letter. Guests say they feel uneasy near it, a strange energy. Some say the girl's eyes follow them, that there are cold spots and whispers. The legend attributes everything to the spirit of a little girl who supposedly died in the hotel. Staff find the frame crooked, or the expression different. Number 56. From the 1920s to the 1970s, shoe stores in the United States used a machine that x-rayed your feet to show how the shoe fit. It seemed modern and fun. People stuck their feet in just to see their own bones. The problem was that these machines leaked radiation, and customers received doses every time. And those who paid the steepest price were children, with bones still forming, and above all, the salespeople who spent all day operating the machine. Number 57. Iceland has the world's only museum dedicated to collecting the genital organ of every male mammal species. There are more than 300 specimens, from the tiny kind that requires a magnifying glass to a nearly 6.5-foot whale specimen in a glass tube with formaldehyde. The founder started the collection in 1974 after some friends gave him a bull specimen as a joke. A large portion sits in formaldehyde, which is toxic, so ventilation is strictly controlled. Number 58. The Fiji mermaid was one of the most popular circus attractions of the 19th century. Up close, it is grotesque. The dried torso of a monkey sewn to the body of a fish with a blank-eyed grimace. Sailors said having one on board brought storms and shipwrecks. Today we know it is a fraud, an assembly made to impress paying audiences. But the piece is so disturbing that several museums keep it in a dark corner of storage. Number 59. Locked behind closed doors in a curiosities museum sits a skeleton that looks like something out of Greek mythology. The upper half of a human fused to the lower half of a horse. It was assembled with real anatomical precision, combining human and equine bones, which fueled rumors of secret experiments. The story points to an 18th century collector obsessed with hybrids. At its core, it is a forgery, but such a meticulous one that it remains hidden from the public. Number 60. In 1836, some boys hunting rabbits on a hill in Edinburgh found a hiding place in the rock with 17 tiny coffins, each the size of a finger, each containing a carved and dressed little wooden figurine. Nobody ever knew who made them or why. The strongest theory links the coffins to the victims of Burke and Hare, a symbolic burial for those who were murdered without a grave. 8 of them are at the National Museum of Scotland. Number 61. Found in the Atacama Desert in Chile, a tiny skeleton with an elongated skull and abnormally shaped bones became a sensation among alien hunters. It was too small, too strange. DNA analysis, however, settled the question. It was human, with a series of rare genetic mutations. Mystery solved by science, but the appearance remains disturbing, and the piece ended up stored away from the spotlight. Number 62. In Florence stands the oldest science museum in Europe, La Spicola, from 1775. The main attraction is hyper-realistic anatomical wax models, life-sized human figures with every muscle, vein, and organ in place. Some lie as if sleeping, others are split open, displaying the viscera. Beautiful and disturbing at the same time. The wax melts, so the temperature is controlled. And some of the old formulas contain mercury. Number 63. At the University of New South Wales in Sydney, there is a museum full of real human organs from people who died of serious diseases. You look up close at a liver destroyed by someone's cancer, or the lung of someone who smoked their entire life. Each jar has a label explaining what happened. It is not a metaphor or a plastic model, it is someone's body, with the disease that killed them suspended there in the glass. Not a place for a weak stomach. Number 64. In Kentucky, there's a wooden chest from the 1830s now kept in a history museum. The story goes that it was made by an enslaved man named Remus, forced to build it for his owner, Jeremiah Graham, without ever receiving anything in return. Legend says he cursed the chest to pursue whoever possessed it. The first death was supposedly Graham's son. From then on, at least 16 deaths were attributed to the chest, including sudden illnesses and accidents. Number 65. In 1878, a small stone figurine about 5,500 years old appeared in Cyprus. They nicknamed it the Woman of Lem, or the Goddess of Death. The legend lists the owners one by one. The first supposedly lost 7 relatives in 6 years. Subsequent owners had entire families wiped out. The strange detail is that when you search for those names in official records, they do not exist. True or invented, nobody knows. Number 66. Among the Mijikenda people on the coast of Kenya, each Vigango statue is carved when a respected elder dies, to house his spirit. They were never supposed to leave. In the 1980s, more than 300 were stolen from sacred grounds and sold to tourists and galleries, ending up in museums in the United States and Europe. The elders blamed the disappearance for diseases and failed harvests. Collectors reported accidents and voices telling them to return the statues. Number 67. In 2023, a natural history museum in Sioux Falls in the United States suddenly closed its doors and sealed the taxidermy wing. The reason, the stuffed animals were contaminated with arsenic. At the beginning of the 20th century, taxidermists soaked the hides in arsenic soap to repel insects. A century later, it became a hazard. Cleaning them would raise carcinogenic dust. For years, children had been touching the display cases without anyone suspecting. Number 68. The English philosopher Jeremy Bentham requested, in his will in 1832, something bizarre, that they turn his body into an auto icon, the real skeleton dressed in his own clothes and stuffed with straw, seated in a chair. The mummification of the head went so wrong it became hideous, so they put on a wax one. The real head, dried out and fitted with glass eyes, sat for years between his feet until students stole it for ransom. Today, it is locked in a vault at the University of London. Number 69. In 1971, workers digging a bomb shelter in China stumbled upon the tomb of a noblewoman who died around 168 BC. Inside, the impossible, the body of Lady Di, or Sinjue, with skin still soft and elastic, joints that still bent, eyelashes in place, and blood still in the veins, more than 2,000 years later. During the autopsy, they found 138 melon seeds in her stomach. She had eaten melon about an hour before dying. Number 70. Near Luxor, in 1881, they found a mummy unlike any other, the mouth wide open in an eternal scream. It was wrapped in sheepskin, considered impure by the Egyptians, with the hands and feet bound, and had not even been properly mummified. DNA linked it to the pharaoh Rameses III. It is almost certainly Prince Pentauer, who conspired with his own mother to kill his father and was forced to take his own life. It has been on display at the Cairo Museum since 2018. Number 71. The Shuar and Ashwar peoples of Ecuador shrank the heads of dead enemies to the size of a fist, sewing the eyes and lips shut to trap the victim's soul inside. These are the Tsansa. The Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford collected 12 of them, some fake, made from bodies stolen from morgues to feed the demand. In 2020, they removed all of them from the exhibition, believing they reinforced a racist view of other peoples. Collectors paid a firearm per head. Number 72. In 1898, two manaless lions began pulling workers at night from the camp building a railway in Kenya and devouring them. Over 9 months, they killed dozens of men, with accounts ranging from 28 to more than 100. The engineer Patterson finally shot them, and the skins became rugs in his house. In 1925, they were remounted in taxidermy. The two lions remain on display at the Field Museum in Chicago, staring at anyone who passes. The saga inspired the film The Ghost in the Darkness. Number 73. The German anatomist Gunther von Hagens invented plastination, which replaces the body's fluids with plastic, and since 1995 has exhibited real human bodies without skin, posed running, playing chess, split in half. Millions paid to see them. The problem came in 2004 when reports emerged that some of the bodies may have come from executed prisoners in China. He denied knowing the origin and returned 7 cadavers. To this day, doubt lingers over who those people are. Number 74. In the 1980s, a cheap print by the painter Bragelin of a crying boy hung in thousands of British homes. In 1985, the tabloid The Sun ran the headline, "The Curse of the Crying Boy in Flames." Firefighters reported houses reduced to ashes where only that painting survived, intact. The panic was so great that the newspaper told readers to turn in their copies and burned hundreds of them on Halloween. There are people who refuse to hang the painting to this day. Number 75. The Skull of Doom is a crystal skull made of transparent quartz with a detachable jaw. Its owner, Anna Mitchell Hedges, swore she found it in a Mayan ruin in 1924 and said the piece killed with thought alone. The truth is less magical. Her father bought the skull at an auction in London in 1943. Every crystal skull that has been tested, this one and those in major museums, are modern forgeries made in 19th century Europe. Even so, they inspired an Indiana Jones film. Number 76. In 1869, while digging a well on a farm in New York, workers unearthed a 10-foot stone man. Crowds paid 50 cents to see the supposed petrified giant from biblical times. It was pure fraud. An atheist named George Hull had commissioned the figure sculpted in plaster and buried it there, just to mock those who took the Bible literally. The giant is still in a museum in Cooperstown.